Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I take rough 3D prints like this and turn it into something like this that's smooth, even, and ready for paint. Stay tuned guys, this is 3DB. Okay guys, so before we hop into the video, I just want to let you guys know that these are just the tools that I use. Some of these may not be in your town, your local city, or some of them may, but they may not be the same. So definitely find out what works for you. What I'm going to be giving you is a step-by-step process of how I do it. So from there, you're actually able to take some certain things and apply it to what's going to work best for you guys. Let's get into it. Alright, so I get things done a little the old-fashioned way with some good old-fashioned elbow grease. So these are the different grits of sandpaper that I have, some wood filler to cover in some spots, and my palm sander. And you just need something sharp just to get your detail back. So I start off with a high grit. This one's going to be 60 grit. Along with that, I just use the regular pliers that came with the 3D printer. And pretty much what you want to do with this is just slide this across the mold. This is where my supports were. But you want to slide this across the top of the helmet or wherever you have some rough prints. And you kind of just want anything that's going to stand up, like any of those stray PLA wires, I like to call them, that are standing up. You just want to find those and clip those off. I like to think that I'm a barber at this point. From there, I start off with the 60 grit. Again, I want to start off high and then work my way down. Pretty much what this does is it gets all the big chunks, the big hairs out, all that rough nonsense that you're feeling. This is going to at least trim it down so that way I can get to something a little bit more manageable. So I start off high, about a 60 grit, and then I work my way down all the way to 220. This is why I call it elbow grease, guys, because this definitely does take time. Like I said, these are the tools that I use. There definitely are things that you can use to make this process a little bit quicker. I've seen a lot of 3D printers use a palm sander. It's pretty much the same thing as my hand sander, but electric. With that, you could get the different grits that you need. It is automatic, so that saves the elbow grease, which is kind of like taking the fun out to me. I like being hands-on. I want to be a part of the whole process. I don't want a machine kind of finishing something for me. I like the satisfaction that I did that 100%. So that's just me, guys. Again, you could find what works best for you. Maybe the palm sander might be better for you. Maybe you might be spitting out many prints and you just want to get it done as quickly as possible. Right now with one printer, this is pretty much working for me. So you'll just see me going back and forth, cutting things, sanding things, cutting things, sanding things. In this stage, guys, get used to a lot of that rinse and repeat. Because you're going to be doing a lot of that. This stage here, I mean, sanding, priming, everything like that, it's key because literally this is setting up everything for paint. So anything that I can see at these stages is definitely going to be seeable through the paint. So this stage, the printing may take some time, but this is going to definitely take you guys a lot more time than the actual print itself. Just focusing on detail. That's a huge thing, especially when you're making something that's already made. You want it to look exactly like that. You don't want people to look at it and be like, what is that? Why is that defect there? That's definitely going to deter people away from your prints if you're looking to sell. And even for pictures, if you're just looking to do this for Instagram, your pictures are they're not going to come out right, or they can if you're good with Photoshop. But I like to be authentic. So I take a lot of time in this process, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then you'll see me do my hand test. So what I do is, just like you see, I'll just run my finger over the print just to make sure there are no more defects that I can feel. And then from there, we take it up a notch. So I go from the 60 to 120 grit. Again, the 60 grit is just to take off the big chunks. From here, I'm going down. So from cutting everything with the little cutter tools, from sanding with the 60 grit, that knocked down a lot of the bumps, the imperfections, everything like that. With this 120 grit, it's pretty much going to come behind that, and what the 60 grit could not reach, this 120 grit is going to reach and pretty much bring that down a lot more and make it a lot smoother. So you just want to keep doing this process, going down and down and down until you feel that real soft, smooth surface. Again, some people do dry sanding. After sanding, you should rinse the dust off. Be careful with the dust. Try to put some kind of mask on. Some people try wet sanding as well. That's another option that you could do as well. And then from there, you'll see I go up to 180. So again, guys, lots of elbow grease. I'm not trying to deter anybody from this process. I'm just being realistic. It does take time. But again, when you see the finished product, you're going to be very happy with all the work that you did. From there, I take the palm sander away, just because with my hand, with this grit here, I want to see if I can feel any imperfections. And while you're sanding with your hand, you can kind of feel the smoothness of the print coming out. So that's kind of why I switched from the palm to the hand, just to get a little bit more thorough with my sanding. After every grit change, after every time I'm done sanding with one grit, or just done sanding, I always run my finger across the print just to see if I can feel any imperfections, to see if there's anything still standing, to make sure there's no little fuzzy parts, to make sure there are no like major gaps that I miss, no bumps. And then I do the same thing with the cutters, just run it over to make sure nothing stands up. So I just want to make sure that I pretty much did a good job. From there, finally, I rub it down with a 220 grit. For the next step, you'll want some handy dandy gloves and some wood filler. And what I'll do with these two, the gloves, of course, just to keep my fingers protected. But with the wood filler, that's pretty much what I'm going to use to cover up the rest of those little patches. So pretty much another layer to make a smoother surface. Now, again, there are different things that you can use. Wood filler is what I use. Wood filler, as you can see, I'm doing this in the house. So there's no bad fumes that I'm getting from the wood filler. The worst that could possibly happen is when I'm sanding again. So this is why I say use a mask. I'm not in this video. Shame on me. Do as I say, not as I do. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing. So you'll see me running my fingers over everything. Again, you want to remove the dust, everything that you just sanded, before doing this step, so that way at least everything is a lot more smoother there. Now, some people might be saying, why don't you just do this and skip everything? Well, of course, everything that I just sanded, everything that I just cut will still come through the print. If not, I would have to put like a real thick goop of this stuff on. That's gonna alter the print. It's gonna take away some of the detail. This Mandalorian helmet doesn't have a lot of detail at the top, except for that little ridge in the middle. Has two lines, so that I didn't really want to lose. That's why I used the cutter, just to go back in there and grind any of the paste that I put in there out. But yeah, you just want to get this as smooth as you can. Don't be shy to put too much, because again, you're going to come back to this process and sand it down some more, kind of with the same process, but not going back up to the 60, because of course you wouldn't need that. So this is pretty much what I do here. Just get a nice even coat of that wood filler. Again, like I was mentioning, some people use Bondo. Bondo is like a two-part putty that you can use instead. It dries a little bit quicker than the wood filler. Some people may use epoxy XC3D. Sorry, it's like a tongue twister. There are plenty of other things that you can use to fill in the holes. This is just what I use since I'm in the house, and so that way I don't get those fumes, those harmful fumes in the house. But yeah, just going back and forth, getting a nice, solid, even layer with this wood filler. And as you already see now, most of those ridges that you've seen in the beginning are pretty much gone. So that's why I like the wood filler. Again, it may take a little bit longer than some of the other supplements that you can use, but this works for me. Again, no fumes, and it gets the job done. From there, I just wait for everything to dry. What you kind of want to see is on the top half, you want to see it start to crust up, so where you run your finger, some of it drops off. But then you also want to make sure that the middle is hardened too, so you'll be able to feel it. It'll feel like cold and wet if the middle's not dry. And then just from there, you probably want to get the 120 to 220 grit sandpaper and just sand everything down once it's all hardened. And you just want to make that as smooth as possible and run your fingers over the print. Anything that you can feel will show through the paint. Once you feel like you have everything smooth, everything done, take it outside somewhere well ventilated and go ahead and hit it with your primer. The primer will then show any spots or gaps or dents that you missed. Rinse and repeat. Alright, and once you guys feel that you've done that enough and you feel comfortable, this is what your prints are going to start to come out looking like. Very smooth, even, ready for paint. Again, it is a process. I did give you guys some tips and tricks or some things that may speed up the process. But this is what you kind of want to go through to get your prints ready for paint and to get the best quality out of the paint. Alright guys, so thanks for watching that video. If this helped you, it could help somebody else. So hit that like button, hit that share button, and help the next 3D printer come along. Also leave some comments, maybe something that you use for sanding, maybe something that you use for filling in prints. You never know who could help. And finally guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I do a journey of all my 3D printings, other build processes, and other how-tos. And I'll also be taking that Mandolorian helmet that you just watched me work on and go through a full how-to process on how I put everything together and get that done. Thanks for watching guys. It's 3DB. God bless. Take care.